Hello and welcome back to the battlefields of Rome 2, Heir of Carthage here, and I've got a good one for you today. This is going to be Galatia taking on the Nervii. So we've got some Celtic powers about to go head to head, though these two factions are quite a lot different. Not only that, we've also got a very different build from Galatia here, which is essentially a hoplite build, or at least about as close as the Galatians can get to hoplites. So there is a line of Galatian noblemen. They're going to fight similar to hoplites. I do need to look at their weapon damage. This particular spear is different than the hoplite spear that has 8 armor piercing. This is only 6. And of course they do have a shield screen, which is similar to a hoplite wall, but a little different. They do have cavalry counter tactics, so it is going to make them a little different. So there are 6 Galatian noblemen on the battlefield. That's a significant investment. Behind them are some Galatian swords, looks like about 4 units of those, and then we have some mercenary Cappadocian cavalry, 2 units there, 2 levy freemen, and then up front we're going to have 2 Celtic slingers and a mercenary Syrian archer. Now as for the Nervii, which we haven't seen a lot of on the channel, but still a fun faction. I think that the Nervii are sometimes overshadowed by the Arverni or the Boii in terms of these Celtic picks, but they're still a cool faction. We have some Mighty Horse here, which is a decent medium cavalry that comes with pretty high attack. There's Light Horse as well, and then a couple more Light Horse. Now, another reminder, this 1v1 is not taking place in the Unconquered Sun mod that we have been seeing in the Sub-Commander's replay. We do have an Oathsworn, and then there is a line of Fierce Swords. Fierce Swords are really good in melee, but they have very low survivability in terms of armor. So they'll hit very hard, they don't really hit reliably for a terribly long time, so you need to get your work done. Speaking of get your work done, look at that Celtic Light Horse just going in here full YOLO on a frenzied charge and really putting the damage into the skirmishers of Galatia. Now they did not get the Syrian archers, and they're going to pay with their lives here, so trading 2 Light Horse for a couple of skirmishers and pulling a bunch of javelins out of these expensive units, maybe worth it. I don't know. We will see. Time will tell. There goes a couple of the slingers. That's going to leave 2 Celtic slingers versus the single Syrian archer, and those slingers will want to deal with that archer. The Galatians, I wouldn't have thought would come in with a cavalry advantage with only 2 Cappadocians, but considering that 2 of the Celtic Light Horse just went down, I would say that the cavalry advantage is squarely in the hands of the Galatians. And then when we think about it, as far as just sheer attack goes, with 2 Oathsworn and that many Fierce Swords, theoretically the Nervii should probably be able to overpower here. But I do wonder how those Fierce Swords will hold up against a very survivable unit over the long run. 74 melee defense is a lot, so it's going to be difficult to land hits on those expensive units. And look at this, some of the slingers came back from routing, so that sacrifice of the Light Horse was probably not altogether worth it. The remainder of the Nervii army is just a couple of levy freemen, and then there's another couple of Celtic warriors in the back. And the Nervii are going to make their move here. And it looks like they're maybe splitting into wings here. We've got one wing moving towards the right-hand flank of Galatia, the left-hand flank of Nervii. We're going to see whether they're effective. Look at this, though, that skirmishing. This is where it hurts to not have the armor. This is the unshielded flank, so it was actually probably a bad choice in terms of which flank to run to. Running to this other one would have been the shielded flank, and these Fierce Swords are already combat ineffective prior to even reaching the front line, so that is not a good result for the Nervii thus far. And now we're going to see Shield Screen come into play, which is going to help these spears brace and increase their defense. It also increases shield strength, and if you look at what it does to the melee defense here, it's going to make these Galatian noblemen very difficult to kill. And the Nervii stop just within range and start opening fire on the Galatian nobleman general. And we're going to see a shield screen for the Fierce Swords here, a shield wall, I should say. But now we're going to see a charge. Fierce Swords actually pull back on that. I'm not convinced these guys have javelins. I haven't seen the javelins come in. Oh, there they go. We just had to get closer. Okay. So we do have javelins. Galatian swords now moving to intercept on this other flank. The Oathsworn is not going to get a good charge. That's not really where you want your Oathsworn. Same thing with the Fierce Swords. These units rely heavily on charge with a 37 charge bonus. For those units to get caught on their back foot without a charge is not good for the Nervii. Especially when you consider, again, the difficulty in taking down these shield screens that are set up here by the Galatian wannabe hoplites. I guess if the Galatians made their own version of the Legionary, they're not going to be stopped from making their own version of a hoplite. So these particular Galatians are going to be quite creative. Out here we've got some action between the mercenary Cappadocians and the Mighty Horse, as well as a Levy Freeman from both sides, and the Mighty Horse does not take the better of that engagement, which is what I would expect. Light cavalry on the other flank is trying to stay away from the Cappadocians, as well it should. An engagement with those Cappadocians is a sure recipe for death. And here we have Fierce Swords chasing in after the mercenary Syrian archers. They will be intercepted here by the Galatian nobleman general. That is not going to be pretty for the Fierce Swords, taking a charge from such a heavy unit. And so the Nervii are getting ground down here. This Oathsworn's only got 34 kills, and it's down to half health already. This is not a good situation for the Nervii. This other Oathsworn over here, 60 kills, but again, nowhere near what it needs to be. And the high defense build, at least so far, is working for the Galatians. Now, there is a lot of Fierce Swords. These are guerrilla swords that are actually left here for the Nervii. This is a vanguard deploy unit, but I mean, look at this. It breaks through the back lines, but it's only a medium infantry unit. It's going to take tremendous damage from that heavy melee cavalry charge. So the Nervii are getting it dished out to them, and it's not great at the moment. However, I don't know, this Oathsworn may be turning things over here against the Galatian swords. Fierce Swords we will see. Nervii cavalry, though, is falling to the Cappadocians, and that's only going to lead to issues. You can see that cavalry just making a beeline for the mercenary Syrian archers. And there'll be a reason why. That Syrian archer's got 66 kills, and that is climbing quite quickly. Quite quickly indeed. There is a mercenary Cappadocian cavalry that's going to swing around and finish off those Nervii slingers. They will not be around for too terribly much longer. Do have the force concentration here and fighting spirit coming in for the Nervii, which are special abilities for them. I don't know that it's going to bail them out at this point. It is a pretty somewhat close fight according to the power bar, but I think Galatia is about to walk away from this one. I don't think the general has died. It says he's attacked in the rear, though. I'm not sure what gave that penalty. It's a strange penalty to see on the unit, but it definitely still shows attacked in the rear. So somehow that's playing in, and it's hurting their survivability here. Well, that Cappadocian cavalry took out one slinger. It's coming back to finish off the remnants of the other one. And the main line of the Nervii finally gets a bit of a breakthrough over here, almost. But they paid for it dearly, and then right as they get that breakthrough, here comes a Levy Freeman to just further complicate things there. The Galatian nobleman general, though, worse for wear here. It ended up in some pretty tough fights. They did get 129 kills. They held up really rather nicely. So the Nervii here basically were the glass cannon that came up against a stone wall and shattered. That's probably about the best description I can think of for this battle. It was a fun one, but that's kind of the way the Nervii are. They have to do their damage quickly and on the charge. They're kind of like the Lusitani in some ways, just a Gaul-centric version of the Lusitani, or are they more Germanic? I don't really know exactly. Maybe they were a Germanic tribe. I don't remember. But regardless, they do have Celtic warriors here, so I'm not really sure. But in any case, the Nervii just didn't quite get the job done quick enough. The high survivability of the Galatian noblemen played a big role here, and you can see without the armor, these Galatian noblemen did pretty good in melee. And it's not because their attack is outstanding or their damage is outstanding, but with no armor on the other side with all these fierce swords, and then you couple that with the fact that their melee defense is really high. And for those who are not as much familiar with it, a really high melee defense essentially means that they're very difficult to hit. It's like a dice roll. And your melee attack, the higher it is, the better your chance to hit. But the higher that melee defense is, the harder it is to hit. So as those dice rolls are taking place at the individual entity level, despite the really good attack stats on these fierce swords and other Nervii units, they're just not landing a ton of hits. However, on the flip side of that, the somewhat low defense stats, I say somewhat low, they're not terrible defense stats for the Nervii, but they're also lacking that armor. So when the noblemen do hit, they do more damage, quite a bit more damage. So It's interesting the way that one stacked up. So a good defense was the best offense, I guess, in this case, against the Nervii. I hope you all enjoyed this one. Heir of Carthage signing out. I will see you soon with some more action in Total War Rome 2.